will be it for the first segment, and then we will jump right into seg funds. Just give me 1 second. All right, okay, perfect. So let's finish off by looking at some of the risks of investing. I have some of the key ones here. Your book goes over a little bit more. So if you want to kind of go through all of them, that would be a good idea to just kind of refresh your memory and take a look at that. But some of the key ones that we see, especially more common ones that we see for exam purposes and all of that. So the first one is inflation risk, very, very popular for exams. So inflation risk, just as it states, is just if your investments, maybe return is so low that the cost of living is going at a faster rate than what you're getting. So there's an inflation risk. And usually we see this, these two are the ones that we usually see with GICs, bonds, money market. So the ones that are more safer investments are the ones that pose this risk because they're safer, their money is safer, they're usually not giving the best return. And because of that, you might be actually falling behind when it comes to other things such as the cost of living. Next one is interest rate risk. So this is if you are locked in at an interest rate that's not that great. And then, you're not getting the best sort of return on your money. And sometimes when you're locked in, especially for things such as annuities, definitely pose an interest rate risk because that interest cannot be adjusted afterwards, right? Market risk is the next one. So this is when if there is any sort of economic recession, some natural disaster. So these are things that are kind of out of our control, but definitely it is a risk when anytime you put your money into the market, might be high risk or low risk, but that risk is there, right? The market can crash, anything can happen, and then that risk is there for your money. Loss of capital. So that again, you are taking on that risk that if your investments are not doing so great, you may lose some or all of the capital. And that's another risk that is being taken. Credit risk is the next one. And this is when if there is default, it's a default risk. It's usually associated with bonds. We usually have ratings such as AAA is a good a good rating, and then C are like those junk sort of investments. So you don't need to know the ratings, but just that this is a possible sort of risk that one can be exposed to. Foreign exchange rate, sorry, I just put the short form, but it stands for foreign. Foreign exchange risk. So this is when, of course, when you're converting your money, there's a currency risk. So when it's converted back into your own currency, maybe there's a risk there. Liquidity risk. So we talked about this one already. So if it's in an investment where maybe you can't get your money out, it's being exposed to a liquidity risk. And like I said, real estate is the most common example for this. And then the last one we're going to talk about here is called industry risk. And this is if it's in any sort of specific industry. So let's say if you invested in the mining industry or the diamond industry, and that particular industry goes on strike or something happens in that industry. So now you've exposed yourself to industry risk because it was in one specific industry. All right. So these are the common ones that we see. And usually, when somebody's investing, risk is always taken when investment is there. It can be high or low, but we always see that risk. And depending on how they've structured their investments and where they've invested, that risk can come up in many different ways. All right, so we'll close off the first segment here. And then in the next segment now, we'll be looking at seg funds in details. What are they, how they work, and advantages and disadvantages. And then we'll take it from there. All right, so I'll see you guys in the next segment.